get to the bag, ayy. Got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast, ayy. Ayy, let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss, ayy.
This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we jump into the episode, you know what we got to do. It is one of my favorite segments. It is called This Week in Freight, powered by my friends over at DAT, you guys. This is 100% viewer submitted. What is This Week in Freight? We break down lanes 3 times a week, dry van, flatbed, reefer. And it's just to show you guys how markets perform. It's what I personally do when I read freight lanes that we are quoting, that we are bidding, to find that stabilization point out there, find out when markets are about to peak, when they're about to drop, to stay ahead of it. Because at the end of the day, you guys, we got to find that stability out there in the market, no matter what. We want to bring that consistency, whether it's with capacity, communication, pricing, all of that. We got to deliver that to our customers. So this is, if you want your lane broken down, you guys, I need you to email my team, podcast@thefreightcoach.com. This one is Charlotte, North Carolina to Fort Myers, Florida, and it is for a flatbed. Now, we move a lot of freight, primarily on flatbeds from Pennsylvania into the Southeast. We go into Florida a lot. And this is pretty much lockstep and key on what you're going to be paying out there. It might even be a little bit higher. You might get something a little bit lower, but like this is pretty much lockstep and key. As you guys know, the first thing I always look at is that miles. 682 miles on this. This is a lot of carriers are going to shoot for next day delivery on this lane in particular. So with that being said, you guys, Friday to Monday is going to be exponentially more expensive unless you get that guy who's looking to get back home down into Florida. But, you know, again, you guys, I always want to look at that stabilization standpoint, okay? There's a lot of talk about how rates are skyrocketing. They're all over the board, this and that and everything under the sun. And they might be circumstantially on that individual transaction, but that's not across the country. That's not on every single load that you move out there. And I think that that's a very big disconnect from a lot of people who talk about moving freight that aren't actually moving freight. Because if you're out there as a service provider, you want to deliver that consistency to your customer like I'm talking about. And the data doesn't lie here, you guys. So I operate off of a $200 variance, okay? I look at something, if there's a $200 variance over a 90-day period, if it stays inside of that, that is stable to me. All right. That means that sometimes, you know what, you might make a little bit more money. You might lose a little bit more money, but you're not out there wondering, like, am I going to pay $1,000 today? And is it going to be $4,000 tomorrow? That's all out of the board. So it's like, as you're going in there and looking at this, we're looking at the data here. And again, we're at the end of June. So I'm going with, this is a 90-day. I'm rounding up here a little bit, sue me, because it's going to get more expensive at the 4th of July. But I look at this and we see this $200 variance here, okay? That is a solid number where you can bring that back to your customer and let them know, like, hey, we think it's not rising up anymore. There's going to be a little bit of an increase around the 4th of July. That's natural because people are going to be closed on either Friday the 3rd or Monday the 6th. And that's going to add days in there. So you want to pay attention to that. So you'll see that data creep up around there. But that is an event that you can point to and say that is why that rate increased in particular. So with that being said, if we're looking at this now, the other day when I broke down Denver and I was talking about Florida, Florida is one of those markets where there's not a ton of capacity that wants to run down there because of the inverse. Going out of Florida is generally pretty soft. Now, flatbeds across the country are up. So now you might see a little bit more of a people buying into going into Florida because the loads are paying well out of there. But again, from an overall freight volume perspective, flatbeds out of Florida are pretty slim compared to other markets out there. Now, I don't speak for every single lane. I'm sure somebody could come to me and say this lane's fine. But historically speaking, in my career, outbound Florida for all modes outside of produce season is generally pretty soft. There's more trucks than there is to loads out there. So to pay attention to that anytime you're sending trucks down into the state of Florida, primarily within flatbeds, because for as much freight as we move into the Southeast, we've moved equally as much freight out of the Southeast. And outbound Florida is generally very soft overall. So anything going in is going to command a higher price point more times than not. All right. I'm trying to speak in not general term or in general terms here because I don't want anybody to take what I say and apply it to every single load across the board. This whole point is for you guys to understand how markets work, what pockets of the country are going to command a higher price point than others, because not all 700 miles is created equally in this country. And that's why I'm against national averages, because people make pricing mistakes out there. It costs them money where they're losing margin or they're losing out on the load because customers are like, that's way too high. Or it's that one that's extremely low. And they're like, I'm not going to take that rate. You're $800 below where everybody else is. But I look at this as with North Carolina going into Florida. Yes, there's going to be a slight dip in available carriers because a lot of guys don't like running down there. But when you find them, you'll find that stabilization point where you can deliver that consistent capacity out there to your customer. Charlotte to Fort Myers, Florida, I think is a stable lane out there right now, just looking at that 90-day cycle outside of the 4th of July, which we're going to be coming up here, and you'll see some natural price increases. But that's going to be it for This Week in Freight, powered by my friends over at DAT Flatbed Edition. If you want in on it, hit up my team podcast at thefreightcoach.com. Now, let's get into the episode. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. This is your first time tuning in. Welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy, I don't even know what day of the week it is, you guys, because we're doing a recording here. I got my good friend Nick Lester with River City Logistics on the show today, and we were both on a panel earlier this year at the TIA Capital Ideas Conference, and I'm a massive fan of him, the organization he works for, because in my opinion, they're doing it right out there, and I'm trying to emulate a lot of what we're building here to align with what they're doing. So Nick, thank you so much for taking the time to join me here today.
Yeah, it's exciting to be here, Chris. Thanks for you sure know how to do an intro.
Well, you're only like episode like 1500 at this point, Nick, and
Is that it?
yeah, no, that's it, right? It's just a small little thing that we just do on the side. But no, man, it's like what I love the most about our panel, and like one of the main reasons why I love doing this show is I feel like even now in today's day and age where there's so much information, there's such a lack of quality information that people can like actually use in their business, right? It's like a lot of people want to come in and think like, oh, everything's high level. It's got to be more complex than that. To me, it's not, man. Like at the end of the day, freight brokerage is never going to be more complex than we need a truck to go in, pick up at point A, deliver to point B, and that's it. And I think so many people try and build up all of these complex things and think like, oh, we got to go more high level, this and that. I work with some pretty high level shippers, man, and their main concern is where's my truck?
Yeah, I think you're pretty dead on there. I think yeah, a lot of reinventing the wheel. I think you're right. I tell the any new hires, we just got a big class of interns. I tell them like it's pretty crazy when you zoom out and put this at the most basic level. Like we're telling somebody to pick something up. Somebody's telling us to arrange transportation. We're telling somebody to pick something up, and then we just do it. Like they do it. And then we pay them. And we don't interact with these people very often. But yeah, I mean, realistically, you're dead on there, and we're just trying to figure out, and the same as everybody else is how do we do it better.
Mhm. No, and that's it, right? Like I look at with where things are in the industry. I mean, I've been in trucking for 20 years personally, and I've been in brokerage now for over 15 of those. And I think at times we try and almost overcomplicate a lot of things to try and like justify our existence, right? But I've just found like when I'm going in there and I'm prospecting my shippers, or even when I'm working with my carriers, it's more along the lines of just like, all right, how do we kind of cut the BS, cut the noise, and like just help everything run efficiently? And I think like as a broker, I've been that guy who's tried to like mask things to try and, make money and everything else. But I found that my life is a lot more simple when I just put all my cards on the table and set my drivers up for success, right? Because I think in the market that we're experiencing right now, I mean, I've personally been in this style of a market before a few times. And I think that now how you separate yourself as a broker, it's not just applicable to the shippers, it's to the carriers. Are they going to want to haul your freight when there's 14 other brokers posting the exact same load, or, they're posting more money out there? How can you attract that carrier to come in and haul for you? So like, how do you do that, man? Like, you're on the operations side, you're on the carrier side of things. How are you working with your team and your carriers to get that capacity? Oh, there we go.
Hey, sorry, man. The Wi-Fi is not the best here. I
No,
guess.
it's all good. We fortunately my guy will go in there and edit this one out, or edit that out there. But the question is like, how are you guys at River City working to like get that capacity to buy into wanting to work with you over everybody else? Because like the tables have flipped in this market.
Yeah, I think what we're really trying to work on right now, and what we're really, I think, having our just super granular focus on, is just treating these carriers right, right? You've been in the industry long enough to understand, and then these carriers, a lot of these carriers have as well. Some of them haven't, but they're getting beat down daily, right? They're getting beat down when they're at the shippers and the receivers, and they're getting beat down, trying to find parking, and getting, especially these drivers, right? So from us, they don't need another person who's always looking to dock them. They're a minute late because they had intense traffic, and they're trying to essentially just, I think we're just going to continue to see this cycle, right? Where we're going to see shippers and carriers really kind of out for blood in these cycles. And we try to reduce that as much as we can by treating the carriers well. We really try to develop the relationships. And then the biggest thing for us is we really try to just, get decent pricing on as long of a term schedule as we can, and be that, whether that be 6 months, a year, right, to help us really avoid these fluctuations. Because I'm sure a lot of your listeners can relate to, this job gets a whole lot easier once you're able to just take out your phone, send a text to a driver or a carrier, an owner op, whoever it be, and the load's covered, right? So I think from our perspective, developing that relationship is just paramount.
Yeah, I also look at it too is when we're out there, like I view like my carrier partners are a direct reflection of me to my shippers and then their customers, right? Because
Yeah.
like at least in my book of business, everybody we're delivering to is my customer's customer. And there's competitors out there in any vertical of any industry that there is. And I think like that's lost on a lot of transportation providers. Is like, how many food manufacturers are within 50 miles of where you guys are in Iowa? Right? Tons, I'm assuming, right? And
Yep.
yeah, so it's like if you look at that, what's going to stop them to go to another one of our customers' competitors out there? So it's like I think like if you're going in there with that mindset and that perspective, again, the broker with the truck wins. Like especially right now, customers, it's very well documented now. Customers will pay more money as long as you have an actual truck to come through and execute on that load for them out there. So it's like for me, I don't get offended if a carrier asks me for more money on a load. It's like, all right, cool. If that's what you need, that's what you need. But like, that doesn't mean I have to pay it. But I'm like, how do I set them up for success to where when they show up to my customer, they're treating them with respect. They're going to get loaded in a timely manner. They're set up for success from the time being. And then, again, we call ahead. We call ahead to the receiver. What's it like out there? Do they need to call you? Do you want an hour heads up? I want them to look at us as like a direct reflection of our customer at the end of the day. And it all boils down to your ability to communicate. And most people are only good at communicating when it's easy out there. But I've just found, and kind of like what you're saying there, operationally, at least what we do with my team, we operate the exact same way, whether we're making $500, losing $500, if it's an up market, down market, it does not matter. Our partners will never know the existence because we operate the exact same way. It's a lot easier that way.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to something we discussed when we were on the panel, which was one, identifying that ICP, that ideal customer profile, right? Who do you want to be your customer? And something our CEO Chris Brewer says quite a bit that I really subscribe to is we want partners, right? We don't want transactions here. We want shippers, we want customers, we want carriers who are interested in being partners in this, right? Because you can't do you can't do this whole thing alone, right? You need carriers, you need shippers, you need, and brokers. But I think so much of it comes down to what you said, those little details, right? If you're a carrier, do you consistently want to work with a broker who's going to be just, hey, I have to ask you for the pickup number every single time. Hey, consistently I go in there and I get laid over for a day because I don't have a carrier, we don't have appointments, right? But I think a lot of what it really comes down to is what you're talking about. It feels like it's becoming a lot less commonplace, but it certainly was for a while where you were scared to answer that phone, right? And I think it comes with the experience level that especially somebody with your years in, but hey, I'm scared to answer the phone because I know my truck's gonna be late, right? And you build up so much in your head about what it's gonna be like or how mad they're gonna be, right? But then you realize like they get it. Trucking happens, right? And realistically, they want to work with somebody who's truthful, honest with them, and ultimately working to find a solution, right? Because if you answer that phone and you say, "Hey, I don't have a truck," and sorry, right? But hey, I don't have a truck, but here's what I'm doing to work on it, or hey, they're going to be late, but here XYZ of what we're doing. That's really, I think, the winning philosophy, and those are the people who are gonna be in this industry for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we have a minimum of like 8 points of contact on every single load that we do. Like every single day when
Yep.
we come in, our pickups, we send our customer updates immediately in the morning, right? Even if we don't have the load covered that day, we let them know, hey, the FYI, this PO, we're still working to secure capacity on it. This PO at their delivery in Phoenix, whatever that looks like, we send all that over. Like I rip the Band-Aid off and walk into it. And then there are days where if we're not having coverage on a load, we send them an update the afternoon prior, right? Like, hey, we're still working to actively cover this load. I have found that every single customer just appreciates the upfront honesty because here's the thing. Most people don't do that, man. Most people wait to that last minute because they're like, how do I protect to make sure that if I fail on this load, I can try and cover it the next day? If my customer has to pull a load for me because we don't have coverage, I don't want to have them fail, right? Like at the end of the day, I'm not going to be perfect. My service is going to fail, but my communication can never fail. And like ultimately, that's like back to the simplicity of these things out there. I've never lost a customer for telling the truth. And frankly, I I would rather lose a customer by telling them the truth, Nick, than keep one on a lie at this point in my career. And I just, again, I enjoy sleeping at night. And I just think from like an overall service perspective, we're just judging on our communication. I mean, the amount of shippers I've interviewed on this show, the amount of shippers who watch this show, who email me on the side, have all said the exact same thing. Nobody communicates. Like, and these aren't small ones, man. Like
Yeah.
one of my best friends, his company ships 100,000 shipments a month. And he says their biggest problem is communication. Nobody updates the system. Nobody lets them know. The amount that they
Yep.
have to reach out for updates is alarming, he says.
Yeah, I think so much of that really comes down to just where are you? Do you know what your customer wants you to do? Right. We do have customers who are like, hey, I don't care, right? Pick it up, deliver it, and just let us know when it's done or send us the POD or whatever it is. But what I think we take a lot of pride in is we're able to contour that. You want updates every 2 hours? Sure. We got, updates every 2 hours, 24/7, right? You want updates at key milestones, at, at pickup, at check-in, at, departure, and all those things. Absolutely, we can do that. And we I mentioned in the beginning, right? We're all trying to do the exact same job. Just how can we do it better? And it's shockingly easy that communication is uh, such a differentiator, right? There's 20,000 of us all trying to do the same job, trying to get that same capacity, right? So it really is going to come down to relationships. Who's going to pick up the phone when it's needed? Who's gonna get you the truck when it's needed? And who's going to tell you the hard news when it's needed, right? Because at the end of the day, yeah, you're right. The shippers, the customers, like they're going to scramble to find something. They're going to have to overpay, and then that's going to reflect on you of, hey, remember that time I had to overpay because the broker didn't answer the phone, or they waited to the last minute to tell me. And you don't realize it, at sometimes you get a little caught up and you don't realize, like, hey, that made you look way worse than just saying we didn't have the truck.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. And I also look at it now where, there's such a reliance on technology. There's such a reliance on
Yeah.
automation out there. And, at least from my perspective, we're trying to balance that out, right? Like, cause like as a broker, like 95% of my day should and can be automated. I might be the only one who will openly admit that. The only thing I don't want automated is the carrier and customer experience, i.e. they will always get a real person on the phone and a real person out reaching out to them. I know some people are vehemently against it, but the beauty of a guy like me is I have everything on the line that I'm going to be right. So I've hedged my bet, and that's what we're rolling with here. So it's like, how are you guys leveraging automation right now to amplify your guys' operations, but still kind of keeping that personal touch to it?
Yeah, I think with us, like our biggest thing is the same thing, right? We want the human, we want AI, we want automation, we want all of that stuff to take out the tedious tasks, right? The tedious task work, the menial stuff that really, somebody who's getting paid, whatever really getting paid, like they shouldn't have to be doing these manual tasks. And that I think what I would say is probably about a month ago, we had a bunch of people out on vacation for a wedding, and I had to jump in, and it had been a while since I'd booked some freight, and I forgot how hard it is to book a load, all that you got on the board, call the drivers, make that intro dispatch, call the carriers, make sure they got the confirmation, make sure they're all good with the details, make sure you verified the equipment, you verified the driver. And so we're trying to automate a lot of that, like stuff that doesn't take away from the human aspect, so we can focus on the human aspect, right? Is that your experience for the shippers, your experience for the carriers, like it's going to get better because we are taking away these little tasks that we're spending so much time on. Or hey, we had to one thing we really don't want to do is we don't want to dedicate an entire person, an entire role to something like track and trace, right? So those little tiny things that really free up the day and free up those extra 2 to 3 minutes that it takes to make that call, right? So that's one thing that I would say is really big for us, and that's how we're utilizing automation. Is how can we make this more so you can focus on the human piece, right? Negotiating loads, building relationships with carriers, building your relationships with your shippers, and really showing them that we are a partner that's going to be there.
What is one of those core pieces of technology do you think that, a broker actually needs? Because it's like, you worked for a company, you guys bootstrapped that thing up, right? So you guys have a different perspective where there wasn't $100 million tech budget that you guys could just assess out there. You had to be very strategic in how you guys built that out. And I'm sure a lot of trial and error came along those lines. What's one core piece of technology out there that you think like every brokerage has to have no matter what?
Yeah, I think it's probably not even close. That the TMS is something you really need to make sure that you get right. You put a lot of thought into, and it fits your needs for sure.
Like, did you guys just land? Like, who is your guys' TMS provider? Like, did you guys just land on them? How many other TMSs did you guys go through?
Yeah, so we're with Revenova now, and we're at the user conference right now, and it's a great platform, a great group of people, and we went through. So we started agency program one, and then we moved out on our own, and so we got a second one, and then we found Revenova about coming up on 11 months ago. And really our big piece of what we were looking for and what we want to do is we have a fleet of about at the time we were hovering right around 50 trucks, and then our brokerage, and we really wanted to bring those into one unit, one system, and that's been a huge plus for us. And that was very, that became from like, hey, that'd be really nice, to hey, this is mandatory, we have to have it. But the other thing for us is being able to automate. Just like you said, it's so critical, and really to be able to customize things and to be able to go in and make flows, so we can say, hey, when you see this happen, these next few steps happen, right? And so you think about the little things like, hey, for this customer, I've got to make sure that I've got this PO, and or hey, it needs to be in this field, right? So for us, we can easily make these flows where it says, hey, if when this load gets created, this is the customer, then automatically these fields get populated with these these things. And it makes it so much easier for us. Especially the customization is just unbelievable for us, because we're able to really create, hey, I have something that is causing me an extra 2 minutes every load I'm in. Cool, let's automate it, right? Or hey, it'd be really cool to have this here or this field visible within this area. Awesome, right? So a lot of these problems that we ran into, or these struggles, or these little tiny things for our team, they went from, hey, we got to get support involved, and the next release and the next quarter, to hey, that's been done and completed, and it took me a minute, 2 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's I mean, my because we use Revenova as well internally here, and for me, it's the fact that it is a one size fits all, but it's not you're cramming every customer in one box and it's limiting your growth. Because we have shippers of all sizes, right? Like just like with you guys, like we're building this up from scratch, right? We had 0 customers, 0 revenue 3 years ago, and we've had to fight and claw our way in. And it was very important for us to not have a TMS that like limited our growth. And it's like, hey, we don't have that capability out there. And I think that's the death of I think that is the death sentence that freight tech has imposed upon the industry is they're selling a bill of goods that aren't functional. And a lot of people buy into that dream, and then it keeps getting pushed out to the next update, the next update, the next update. And it's like, I needed that stuff 6 months ago. So it's like, I know that like the price tag on some of this tech that's out there in the industry might seem like a lot, but as somebody who's built their stuff up, I've paid for shit like 2 or 3 times, as opposed to just going with the more expensive option first, or like something in the more middle of the road, and like trying to go cheap and piece that together. And it's actually cost me opportunities. And I think that's one thing that surprises a lot of people when you're going out there and developing business. You'd think some of these large logos or small logos have some like complex way of operating. They don't, but they have their own each individual uniqueness about them. And you need a piece of technology that molds to that, because I've personally never had a customer tell me, I need you to have X, Y, and Z tech stack that's out there. Like, again, maybe it's just the people that I'm going after. A lot of them love the automation capabilities that we can do, the automatic location updates that come into their way. And like, but again, it's like we have shippers of all walks of the industry, and we have our TMS is easily fit into that operationally, to where it's like we don't miss a beat with them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more about the buying, multiple times and having to test through, versus because I didn't like the price tag, right? I'm a big subscriber, the company is as well, to the theory of buy once, cry once, right? It might hurt once, and it'll be, something that you do, but at the same time, that really makes you have to evaluate, right? And decide what is out there, and does it fit my needs? Does it have what I need? Right. I think we are starting to get past it a little bit, but just like any industry, hey, we're AI and we're going to automate every aspect of your life. And we're not freight brokers, and we're not in the transportation industry, but hey, you won't have to do anything, right? Because they don't truly understand our problems. They don't truly understand what our days look like. And we're starting to see a lot more of the good ones that are really hyper specific into it, and they come from the transportation industry. But I agree, and I think with Revanova, that's been something that's been incredible for us. And one thing I always try to tell them when, if I'm ever giving feedback or need help with a support ticket or anything, is that we don't we are never going to hold you to a exact date of when we need something by, because one, we can customize it, we can build things ourselves, right? We talked with them about building a fleet dispatching calendar for our side, and they start working on it. But at the same time, like, I can also put together, patch something together that really we can build custom, and be able to put something out to our team until the really really good one comes in the release. And I think that's such an important aspect of uh, success for brokers, is being able to have that customization, being able to move quickly and be able to solve problems internally helps it make it so easy to be able to get out there and really really focus on the customer's problems and the carrier's problems and solving those.
And that piece right there, Nick, is what I think is the most important, because it's like it's easy to look at a piece of technology as a broker and think like, oh, that'd be great for my operation. But it's like, as a broker, we have to ask ourselves, does this make my customer's life easier? Does this make my carrier's life easier? Because like at the end of the day, we are in the middle for a reason, and we have to sit there and be like, how does that add value to the outside, our customer and carrier's experience with us? And that's where I think why a lot of the best tools are built from the industry. It's built from those individuals that worked at that desk level, found that, and then made a tech solution behind that. Not saying anybody can't come into the industry and build up a great product for the industry. I just have yet to see it, right? Where it's like, again, it looks great on paper, but is it being required by the end users of my service, i.e. my carriers and my customers? I haven't found that yet. And again, I want to still kind of have that input on where things are going, because the last thing I want to do is force a customer to like make them work harder to give me freight. Because last time I checked, that's just not going to happen. They're going to end that relationship
Yeah,
right.
no, yeah, I think that's a great way to think about things. Of hey, at the end of the day, we're all doing the same job, and what it really boils down to is our job is to solve problems. It's not to, take over the world, and it's not to boil the ocean, I guess, in terms of corporate speak,
Yeah.
right? But our job is to solve problems here, and ultimately, if we can solve our own internal problems through our tech and through the partnerships that we make here, then it's going to make us much more available to solve the problems of our shippers and our carriers. And I think one thing that I would say about Revanova, and there's a lot of good TMSs out there that have really good support teams and that have really good product features. And but with Revanova, all of them, from our implementation to the support team to sales to all the way down the line within their entire organization, uh, comes from transportation, right? One thing I'm so impressed by with them is that they don't. Most of their team was a Revenova user on the brokerage level, on the carrier level, right? And that just speaks volumes in terms of what we are doing. Because if you've ever implemented anything, if you've ever partnered with a tech solution, working with a broker is just, you can identify immediately how different it is, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't get met with, Why do you need that?" Right? You get met with, "Oh, I can see why you need that," right? And so you really start to prioritize those types of relationships for sure.
Yeah, man. No, I agree. I think it's one of those things, like as technology becomes more and more of the baseline in the industry, it's like choosing who you partner with, and then really seeing like how fully functional they are, because it's very easy to get locked into some stuff that isn't as advertised out there, man. But Nick, I appreciate your time. Whether you want it or not, you're coming back on here at some point, man. I feel like we could chop it up here for a long time. This flew by. How does anybody reach out to you guys? Are you guys hiring drivers? What do things look like out there?
Yeah, we always seem to be in a hiring phase. And yeah, www.rclogistics.com. You can find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, so really any socials. But yeah, I can't wait till the next time, because I've been waiting since the panel at TIA, and I trust me, we could have gone a lot longer than an hour, and even now for sure.
No, I love it. Nick, thank you so much. That's going to be it for today, you guys. If you guys can't find Nick or River City Logistics out there, hit me up. I will gladly put you guys in direct contact with them. That is going to be it. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank that show on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang. Window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when I'm get to the bag. Hey, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when the lane move